headlines this evening. It's the ITV News at 10.
An apology, but precious few answers. Fujitsu admitted today that it had told the Post Office there were problems with its Horizon software.
Did we take that information and share it with the Post Office? Yes, we did. How the Post Office then chose to use that information in their prosecutions is entirely on the Post Office's side.
So what did the Post Office have to say about that? Not a lot.
I've only been in the organisation since 2019, so it's difficult for me to comment. But I can't specifically comment on that. I couldn't give you an exact date on that. I'm not 100% certain.
It was, truthfully, another unedifying day for the Post Office, which seems determined to repeatedly trash every tiny part of its reputation in the full glare of international publicity. It is quite an achievement. Also on News at 10 tonight. Two deputy chairs of the Conservative Party resign over the Rwanda bill. Could the government now lose a key vote on it? Robert will assess for us. Trump wins big in Iowa. We'll ask Dan whether anyone can now beat him to the Republican nomination. From Welsh superstar to the NFL, a major Welsh rugby star has a surprising announcement, and the chicest woman in the world, why Princess Anne is a style icon according to the fashion house Fendi.
But I think it's wonderful that there is a place in fashion, that there is some adulation to someone who embraces everything that's sensible, practical, warm and comfortable.
This is ITV News at 10 with Tom Bradby.
Good evening. It was the turn of two villains of the peace in the Post Office computer scandal to explain to MPs what on earth has been going on for the past 2 decades, leaving hundreds of sub-postmasters with criminal convictions and written-off lives. The MPs laid into the Post Office boss and the head of Fujitsu Europe for all the trauma outlined in the ITV drama. They said they were shocked the two bosses did not have all the required information. But Mr. Fujitsu did make some serious concessions. Perhaps he knows more government contracts are on the line. He said sorry while dobbing the Post Office in it somewhat. He owned up to bugs in the computer system and to helping the Post Office prosecute the sub-postmasters. He also offered to contribute to any compensation. Mr. Post Office clearly hadn't been on the same media training course. Well, Gordon Brown, Chancellor at the time Horizon computers were put in sub-post offices, told us today anyone involved needed to take some responsibility, especially those who knew there was a problem. He said he didn't. Mr. Brown was at the World Economic Forum in Davos in the Swiss Alps, as were Fujitsu top brass. Questions over the faulty Post Office IT system, Horizon, date back decades, years before prosecutions began. By 2015, more than 770 sub-postmasters and sub-postmistresses had been prosecuted based, as we know, on dodgy Horizon data. But it's been revealed the government considered ditching Horizon back in 1998 when it was warned the IT system was flawed. The deal went ahead anyway, and the Post Office rolled out Horizon in 1999. Issues were reported almost immediately, and the first prosecutions began in 2000. OK, and Paul is here to talk about all this. Look, honestly speaking, I know the sub-postmasters and mistresses have been through so much, but I'd have been enraged, wouldn't you, listening to that today, a Fujitsu, officer telling them he told the Post Office the system was flawed, the Post Office guy turning up with the answer to practically nothing. I mean, when are they going to get some answers, and what did you make of it? OK, Paul, thank you very much indeed. Now, in a general election year, there might not be a bigger test for Rishi Sunak than getting his flagship Rwanda policy through Parliament. But once again, his illegal immigration plan has hit stormy waters. This evening, two of the Conservative Party's 4 deputy chairmen and a junior member of the Department for Business resigned from their posts, perhaps before they were sacked, to vote against the government. 3 of 60 Conservatives who did so. And Robert joins me to talk about all this. Is it really conceivable the government's going to lose its key vote on its Rwanda bill? And if it does, what happens? OK, Robert, thank you very much Indeed, well, in the election, when it comes, Labour may have a slightly bigger challenge on its hands than expected because of boundary changes. Our old friend and ITV election analyst, Professor Colin Rallings, and his University of Plymouth colleague, Michael Thrasher, have calculated that Labour will need a swing from the Conservatives of 12% for a majority. That's obviously massive, and it's more, for context, than the 10% swing Labour achieved under Tony Blair in 1997. It's because of the evening up of 585 of the UK's 650 constituencies to make them similar sizes. Now to the words you never thought you'd hear from Donald Trump. It would be so nice if we could come together and straighten out the world. No, not a personality transplant, just the result of him absolutely trouncing his rivals in the first round of voting for the Republican candidate to take on Joe Biden in November's presidential election. He took the state of Iowa easily. The circus moves on now to New Hampshire. Mr. Trump headed there via another court appearance in New York. And Dan joins us. Dan, you said it, I guess. Is it plausible at this point it could be anyone other than Trump? Dan, we look forward to it. Thank you very much indeed. And I've been having a longer chat with Dan, which you can see on ITVX, about the Iowa result and where the presidential race goes from here. And if you missed Robert's programme tonight, Trump, The Return, which was on ITV1 just before news at 10, it is also available on ITVX now, or indeed anytime you want. The current president, Joe Biden, is reported to be about to put the Houthi rebels back on America's list of terrorist organizations. Today, they kept up their missile strikes against international shipping. The Maltese-registered bulk carrier Zographia was hit this evening in the Red Sea as it headed towards the Suez Canal. That attack suggests the big British and American assault late on Thursday night on 60 positions of the Iranian-backed rebels have left some still intact. As one of the brightest stars of rugby union for Gloucester, for Wales and indeed the Lions, Lewis Rees-Zammit had a golden future in the sport assured. But in a surprise announcement, understatement of the year, just before the Six Nations, he's decided to follow his dream, not tradition. He's leaving club and country and rugby and going to the United States to try to make it playing American football. Intriguing and arguably rather bizarre story, but there we are. Defeat in the Women's World Cup final to Spain last summer left the England manager Sarina Wiegman with what she called today unfinished business. Little wonder then that she has signed a contract extension that will include the next World Cup in 2027. She was named FIFA's best women's coach of 2023 last night. She thinks the Lionesses can go one step further next time. Princess Anne, the King's sister, has long done things her own way. That includes her clothes sense, as much at ease in a Barber jacket and wellies as in full military regalia or glamorous frocks. Now, the Italian fashion designer Silvia Venturini Fendi has described the princess as the chicest woman in the world, beautiful in uniform as she was at Charles's coronation. So Miss Fendi has decided to make Anne the inspiration for her new men's collection. Finally, it might not surprise you to know, bearing in mind the weather outside is dire, that tonight is going to be the coldest January night for 14 years. A little earlier this evening, the coldest place in the UK was Kinbrace in the Scottish Highlands at a relatively balmy -5.5 degrees. But -15 is a real possibility overnight. Snow on the ground tonight across northern and northeastern Scotland will be a factor in lowering the temperatures. 120 schools there were closed today, and they probably will be again tomorrow, so not everyone will be disappointed that more of the white stuff is on the way. That is it. I will be here at the same time tomorrow. Wrap up warm. Good night and thanks for watching.
Tomorrow, new king, new bombshell book. King Charles's biographer Robert Hardman speaks to Susanna and Ed about the royal revelations that have everyone talking. From the poignant to the provocative, he'll discuss the concerns and conversations, facts and fiction, through his unrivaled access to the palace. From 6 on Good Morning Britain.
This unexpected warm winter sun could disappear by lunchtime.
Heinz Soups sponsors ITV National Weather.
Good evening to you. We remain very much in the deep freeze for the time being, cold and wintry with snow and winter sunshine, but bitterly cold, barely above freezing for many of us all day.
Heinz Soups sponsors ITV National Weather.
Good evening. A man has died after a house fire in Richmond. 4 fire engines and around 25 firefighters were called to the property just after 8 last night. Investigations are continuing into what caused the fire. Our correspondent Simon Harris has more. People are being told not to approach a prisoner who has links to parts of North London after he absconded from prison in Derbyshire. 26-year-old Michael O'Leary was jailed for nearly 8 years for GBH with intent in 2021. He left prison in Sudbury on Friday afternoon. Police say he has connections to parts of Tottenham, Haringey, Finsbury Park and North Finchley. Police are appealing for information after a 24-year-old man was fatally stabbed in Hounslow in the early hours of this morning. Emergency services attended the scene, but he died soon afterwards. Dozens of bus control room staff are set to strike for 6 days from Friday. It's after they rejected their latest pay offer. The Unite Union says the Abellio bus operator has offered its members a 5% pay increase for last year, which it says is a substantial real terms pay cut. And the London hospitality industry took more cash last year than before the pandemic. That's according to the trade body UK Hospitality. It says venues raked in £46 billion in revenue last year, a rise of £3 billion from 2019. Sadiq Khan said he was delighted but called on the government to do more to protect businesses that continue to struggle. New research says people in the capital are paying more for childcare than anywhere else in the country. That's according to a report by the London Assembly Economy Committee. Some organisations are calling for more support to keep childcare affordable. Antoine Allen reports. Next, in Highgate Cemetery is offering people the chance to buy a burial plot next to one of the most recognisable philosophers of our time, Karl Marx. But it could cost you up to £25,000. It comes as the North London graveyard has secured funding to add new burial sites and carry out vital conservation work. Ronke Phillips reports. Right, weather now, and it's another very cold night ahead. Here's Sally with the details.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus, the renewable energy company.
Hello there, a very good evening to you. Another cold one today. You must be getting used to it by now. Tomorrow, look up into the weekend. Good night. Sleep well.
Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
Finally, Sir Elton John has joined one of the most exclusive clubs in the entertainment world. And that is all for now. We're back with updates during Good Morning Britain. Until then, from everyone on the Late Team, a very good night to you.
The river's burst its